What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Appreciate y'all tuning in to Divided Nations. So Obama making headlines again, as we see here in the last recent weeks, stepping up to the podium to speak on behalf of Joe Biden and endorse him. You know, I was thinking about a couple years ago when he was endorsing, what's her name, OAC, whatever, Cortez. It's been in Congress. How the hell did that happen? Somebody might want to go back and take a look at the numbers, and the Justice Department might want to do an investigation as to voter fraud. I think that there's so many different aspects of what's happening right now that shows a massive overhaul of our system as we know it. I did a video just recently, weeks ago, talking about Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum, who is an individual who's calling for a global reset. So when I used to hear this term for years, I used to think that what they were saying was they were talking about a reset of government debt, or maybe other possibilities of resetting the financial system as the way that we know it, implementing a new system, overlapping the system, but some sort of overhaul. And now I see that actually what they mean when they say global reset, they're actually talking about a global transition. I want all of you to go back, check on Google, and also check on YouTube, other platforms that you might need to check, and you'll see that President Trump, as well as Joe Biden, has called for, or what they're calling, this is going to be, quote, the greatest transition. This is going to be a great transition going into the fourth quarter, going into 2021. You know, this is going to be a great, and he'll make references that seems like he's talking about the economy, but actually he's not really talking about the economy when he talks about those things. The truth remains is that where we're at now is they're getting ready to overhaul everything as far as the system that we know, whether it's the monetary system, whether it's law and legislation, whether it's executive orders that override the Constitution, whether it's implementing new policies or just even city ordinances. Look at the fact of the mask, right? When this whole so-called pandemic started, we had an option to wear the mask, right? Everything's voluntary until it's not voluntary. And then they said, oh, no, you got to wear the masks if you're going into stores, right? So those ordinances, right? Let me give you guys an example. I recently had to go to court for something that had nothing to do with me, but I was supposed to be testifying in a hit-and-run police chase. Some crazy girl got into an accident on the highway, and she was running from the scene of the crime accident. You know, I was a witness to it. Whatever, they called me down to court, subpoenaed me. So I went down there, and they said, as soon as I got there, you have to wear your mask to come into the court building. And I said, it's not going to happen. I'm not wearing my mask, okay? It's a city ordinance. It's not a law. There's a big difference between an ordinance and a city law. I was like, you can't force me to do that. I don't even need to be here. And on top of that, I had a bottle of water in my hand. They said, oh, you can't bring that bottle of water in here. I said, okay. Yeah, not going to happen. I said, listen, I got health issues. I'm not required by law to tell you what those issues are, and you can't force me to wear a mask. I can go into this building and go about my business and proceed, carry on, and it's not going to bother anybody. But I said, and here it is. The guy's wearing one of those blue medical masks, right? The cop at the door. And, he's like, hey, it just is what it is. And I said, did you know that the mask that you're wearing, actually on the box of that mask, right, those surgical masks, it says not intended to protect against influenza or COVID. Okay. And I said, oh, so you're not aware of that? And he's like, well, I don't really know anything about that. I was like, dude, think about it. If there wasn't actually a pandemic right now, there was actually, something that was airborne that was killing everybody. I mean, come on. You think a piece of cloth is going to make one bit of difference? Like I've stated before, you see when the government goes into an area where there's a biological contaminant, they got the bubble suits, respirator, oxygen tank, full on, like they're looking like they're about to go into, a biohazard, a nuclear disaster site where there's fallout. I mean, So don't believe the hype, people. We've all been taken for a ride. And we see this massive movement of socialism in our country. And going back to Obama, my point to that was know your rights. It's very, very important to know your rights. See, when you know your rights, then the powers that be know that they can't F with you. You know what I'm saying? They can't twist you, manipulate you in the ways that they could other people that might be ignorant, meaning lacking knowledge, or more naive, or just not aware. Okay? So that was my point to that. But anyway, I got so many things on my mind, as I'm sure many of us do right now. Going back to this Cortez chick in Congress, and seeing that Obama a couple years ago backed her, right? And now I see that he's trying to make his way to the stage again. And it's like, damn it, Obama, won't you just go away? Fuck, man, seriously. I mean, this dude has a level of entitlement where he just feels like he still has a platform. Apparently, maybe he does. But I don't see how somebody like him, with the policies that he had, strengthening the Middle East in the ways that he did, not finishing the war, pulling our guys out back from Afghanistan, Iraq, leaving that vacuum, basically a breeding ground for terrorism out there, making the Iran deal. And it's on record that our government gave Obama gave Iran $150 billion in cash, unmarked, flew it out there on military planes, on pallets. Cash is untraceable for the most part, but at the same time, it still can be tracked by the serial numbers on it, whatever. But the point is Iran has been chanting death to America for decades, okay? They want to see us wiped off the face of the earth. They want to see any free republic or democracy wiped off the face of the earth. They don't want what we represent around, or at least what freedom represents. But nowadays, I don't seem to know what we're representing. Based on the people who are in power, I think that they're misrepresenting the people to the highest level, and the values of the actions of the government that we see in the past 3 administrations don't reflect the majority of the people's voice. That's my personal opinion. I'm very disappointed with these last 3 administrations, which is actually an understatement. But seeing how Obama is trying to make his way back to the main stage, and even months ago, I'm sure you guys saw it, that, what's her name? Michelle Obama, she, you know what I'm saying? Talking trash about, Trump and this and that, whatever. Okay, I can understand some of the things she's saying, but it's like, who the hell is Michelle Obama, and why is anybody listening to her? Why does she have a platform? I mean, it's just outrageous. Obama slithering his way back into the limelight. You can see that between the power that the Clintons have and the connections with the United Nations, and also Obama, these are dangerous people. These are people that don't have the best interest of the American people at heart. All this stuff happened on Trump's watch. I've given Trump the benefit of the doubt during this whole time. And I would, if I'm only given 2 options out of 350 million Americans to choose, then I would rather Trump be president, obviously, than Joe Biden, because they're both going to take us the direction of New World Order, even though you hear Trump say, oh, we're going to fight these globalists. bull. I call bullish, not nonsense. They are all of these individuals, the majority of them are ushering us towards New World Order. The difference is Joe Biden will just do it a little bit faster, and then they want to go for the Second Amendment. They want to up our taxes. They want to, do a bunch of extreme things. It's like, oh, let's just make a bunch of illegals legal and let's give them free health care. So the people that lived here their whole life, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I can't afford to get health care, but it's like, you're going to give people status and then just give them insurance right off the bat. And like the rest of us in America that lived here, born here on this soil, like we don't matter anymore. How is that? I mean, how does that work? I mean, it's more socialism. Going back to Trump, all these things that are happening right now, they all still happen on his watch. He's blaming China. Is it a coincidence that the first smart city, 5G smart city, was Wuhan and was activated right around the time all this happened? Right? You got 15,000 5G cell towers that all went active around the same time. But they're saying, well, we can trace back the origins and to a lab. And I did all that research. I heard about the professor from Harvard that supposedly had connections, that the Department of Justice did a investigation and stated that he was in collaboration with the lab in Wuhan, and they were paying him $150,000 a month or more, and they paid him another sum of like $1 million and change on top of that. So for service rendered, he made almost a couple $1 million a year, but he was supposedly connected with 2 Chinese nationalists that were supposedly caught at the airport with 20 vials of a biological contaminant, and they were trying to sneak out of the country in the airport. I don't know. I've seen the reviews. I've seen the documentaries of people talking about that. Oh, look, here's the proof. Here's the patent number for the whole COVID, not going to say the word, okay, this so-called pandemic. Here it is, guys, look at this, look at that. You know what, when I looked at some of that information, it was all very convincing to me. And maybe it is true that there is a patent for it. But what we're looking at is not an example of a pandemic. What we're looking at is an overblown flu season. When all this started, they said 100 million people were going to die. They said minimum a couple million people were going to die in the United States. Now it's like supposedly over 200,000. And those numbers aren't even accurate. You want to talk about socialism? We don't even have Obama in our country anymore. And we have Trump, a Republican. And all this stuff happened on his watch. Okay, you say, well, he couldn't do anything about that. But guess what? He created all these policies, executive orders, and he also has plausible deniability because he let the states choose. You say, well, that's a good thing, right? He let the states' governors choose for themselves how they were going to mandate ordinances and if they were going to, require people to wear the masks or, what businesses they were going to close and what they were going to keep open. So you say, oh, it's not his fault. Trump can't help that. Sure. Okay. All right. That is true. But the fact that he has that plausible deniability to not let, or should I say, he doesn't mandate those as far as federally and say, all right, well, we're going to roll out martial law and this and that, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, it wouldn't have been in his best interest in an election year. I'm sure he knew if he did that, he wasn't about to get re-voted back in and reelected. So, and all this stuff happened in an election year. And coincidentally, it all supposedly originated in Wuhan, the place where they activated the world's first smart city all at the same time. I mean, they were testing out here in New York and Rhode Island and Phoenix and LA and Pennsylvania and Texas, Florida. There was a lot of states. You can actually go back and you can see the list. There were a lot of states that they were testing 5G in the last couple years, year and a half. But when it comes to all those systems, really, as far as mainstream going online this year, you can see that there's a lot of coincidences. How many times can you count coincidences on one hand, 2 hands, and say that, oh, it's probably just a coincidence? There's got to come a point where we got to stop and think and say, is there something else going on here that maybe some of us are not seeing, that they're telling us and they're kind of misdirecting, the facts here, and we're kind of just maybe looking in the wrong direction? What I'm saying when it comes to Trump He might say he's a Republican, okay, and he does have conservative values, but the fact that all this stuff happened on his watch, and the fact that he's implemented these policies, and just recently, months ago, he created an executive order that mandates that the U.S. military, the Army and the National Guard, is going to deliver and handle vaccines for the public. Public meaning American citizens. Now, why would a president pass an executive order to implement vaccinations? Think about that. Come on. Come on. Some of you are really stubborn right now. I feel there's going to be quite a few Trump supporters. All right. I'm not hating on Trump. I don't like and agree with a lot of things that he's done. I don't dislike the guy, but I don't trust any of these individuals. And why would Trump pass an executive order mandating that the U.S. government, our military, would be involved in a process in vaccinating the public? Remember what I said about the masks? Everything is voluntary until it's not voluntary. So all these guys that we look back and we look at guys like Obama, we can see Bernie Sanders, Biden, this extreme left, they're all socialists. It's just amazing that they won't really admit it. It's like, why can't you keep it real and just admit that you are a socialist, right? But they won't. They won't. It's all smoke and mirrors, divide and conquer. They always want us to choose a side. Choose a side. Are you Democrat or are you Republican? I refuse. I refuse to choose a side, When you look at everything that's happening now, you can see that there is a clear contradiction between what the Republicans are doing and say that they represent and stand for, and their actions behind that. The actions speak much louder than words. So make no mistake about it. No matter who is voted our president, they're all going to take us the direction of the globalist and New World Order. Part of Agenda 21. Look it up. 1992. United Nations, Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Sustainable Development. And you'll see that that's the direction where all this is going. And that global reset, that global transformation, or the great transition, do your research and look up and you'll see that Joe Biden and Trump have both used that terminology. The great transition, or the greatest transition. Look it up and you see, and pay attention, and you're going to see that none of these people are trustworthy, and all of them do not have our best interest.